In 1930, Charlie Jones woke up one morning and found he could no longer breathe. When the doctors cracked open his chest, they didn't find lungs, they found stone. Charlie had become, quite literally, a statue from the inside out, and he wasn't alone. Over 3,000 men suffered the same horrific fate. Their lungs turned to solid rock, their breath stolen forever. It all began with a tunnel that one of America's most powerful corporations, Union Carbide, swore up and down was perfectly safe. And this is the story Union Carbide spent millions to bury. A story of greed so cold, it turned human beings into stone. Today, in the Marilyn files, we've dug deep into the archives to uncover the truth about Gorley Bridge, where men were petrified and a corporate empire was built on their corpses. It's 1930. The Great Depression has America on its knees. West Virginia, a land of rugged mountains and desperate people, was the perfect stage for Union Carbide's sinister plan. Men were starving for work, any work, and they wouldn't ask too many questions, especially not black men from the Deep South, chasing what they thought was the American dream, hoping for a paycheck to feed their families. Union Carbide had a project, a 3-mile tunnel through Hawk's Nest Mountain in West Virginia. On paper, it was to divert the New River for a hydroelectric dam, but the truth was far darker, far more calculated. Here's the first bombshell. Union Carbide knew something the workers didn't. That mountain wasn't just rock, it was 99% pure silica, a substance so deadly to human lungs it could kill in months. And they weren't just building a tunnel. They were mining that silica, a valuable industrial material, to sell for massive profits. The men thought they were digging a tunnel to secure their futures. In reality, they were carving out their own graves. Let's meet Charlie Jones. 28 years old, a father of 2, he came up from Alabama with dreams of a better life. Charlie was built like a linebacker, strong enough to work 12-hour shifts without breaking a sweat. He was the kind of man who could carry his family through any storm, or so he thought. On the other side stood Reinhardt Dennis, Union Carbide's chief engineer. A Harvard graduate with a mansion in Charleston, Dennis wasn't just some corporate stooge. He was a man who'd read the medical journals, who knew exactly what silica dust could do to a man's lungs. He knew, and he said nothing. Then there were the workers, over 3,000 of them. Most were black men from the South, men the white newspapers of the time barely noticed. They were invisible, disposable in the eyes of Union Carbide, perfect for a project where the company could cut corners and dodge accountability. Picture this. A tunnel, pitch black, buried 500 feet under the mountain. Pneumatic drills screaming day and night, chewing through rock. With every strike, a cloud of white dust so thick it swallowed the light. The men were breathing pure silica, hour after hour, shift after shift. No masks, no ventilation. Union Carbide told them it was just ordinary dust, nothing to worry about. By the second week, Charlie Jones started coughing, a dry, hacking cough that wouldn't stop. The other workers were coughing too, their throats raw, their chests tight. The foreman just shrugged. "It's normal," he said. "Keep working, it'll pass." It didn't pass. In 30 days, Charlie could barely climb a flight of stairs. By 60 days, he was coughing up blood, staining his handkerchief red. By 90 days, Charlie Jones was dying, his body betraying him from the inside out. Here's the second gut punch. Silica doesn't just damage lungs, it transforms them. The dust embeds in the tissue, turning soft, pliable lungs into scar tissue. That scar tissue hardens into fiber, and the fiber calcifies into stone. Charlie's lungs were literally petrifying inside his chest, turning him into a living statue while he still walked the earth. Dr. Leroy Harless, a local doctor in Gorley Bridge, was the first to notice something was wrong. Young men in their 20s and 30s, strong as oxen, were stumbling into his clinic, gasping for air. Their X-rays were unlike anything he'd ever seen, lungs glowing white, completely overtaken by something unnatural. When Dr. Harless performed his first autopsy, he was stunned. Charlie Jones' lungs weren't lungs anymore. They were hard as concrete, heavy as bricks. They weighed 3 times what a normal lung should. This was silicosis, but not like anything in the medical books. This was silicosis on steroids, a death sentence delivered in record time. Within 6 months, Dr. Harless had seen 200 men with the same symptoms. Within a year, over 1,500 workers were either dead or dying, their bodies choking on stone. A silent epidemic was sweeping through West Virginia, hidden in plain sight. And here's the part that'll make your blood boil. Union Carbide knew this would happen. They knew from the very first day. In the Marilyn files, we uncovered the smoking gun, internal memos from Union Carbide, dated 1930, proving they understood the deadly risks of silica dust. They had the studies, the warnings, the science. They just didn't care. One memo, penned by Reinhard Dennis himself, lays it all bare. The Hawk's Nest project must proceed as planned. Medical costs are acceptable compared to silica profits. Prioritize black workers. Fewer legal complications. Fewer complications. That's what they called 3,000 lives. Union Carbide had a playbook to cover it all up. Tactic 1. They hired company doctors to misdiagnose silicosis as pneumonia or tuberculosis, anything to dodge the truth. Tactic 2. They offered grieving families paltry settlements, $25 here, $50 there, to keep them from suing. Tactic 3. They leaned on local newspapers to spin a story blaming the workers themselves, claiming their poor hygiene caused their illnesses. The media ate it up. While Charlie Jones lay in his bed, gasping for every breath, his body turning to stone, Union Carbide was raking in record profits. The silica mined from that tunnel, mined from the lungs of men like Charlie, was sold to factories across America, building a fortune on their suffering. But the story doesn't end there. Enter Phillips Falconer, a young lawyer from Charleston with a fire in his belly. Everyone told him he was insane to take on Union Carbide. They're too big, they said. They own the courts, the politicians, the press. But Falconer didn't listen. In 1933, he gathered 538 widows and sick workers, men and women broken by Union Carbide's lies. It was the biggest labor lawsuit in West Virginia's history, a David versus Goliath battle that put the corporation's sins on trial for the world to see. The courtroom was electric. Testimony after testimony revealed the truth. Union Carbide knew the risks, hid the dangers, and lied to everyone. The jury was horrified, their jaws on the floor as the evidence piled up. But here's the twist that'll make you sick. Union Carbide didn't go down. They offered a settlement, $200,000 to be split among all 538 families. Do the math. That's less than $400 per life. Charlie Jones had been dead for 3 years by then. His widow and 2 children got a check for $27.50. That was the price of his life. Union Carbide didn't stop there. They used their money and influence to erase Hawk's Nest from history. They paid off journalists, leaned on publishers, and made sure textbooks never mentioned the tragedy. By the 1940s, Gorley Bridge was a ghost story, a footnote no one remembered. But their legacy of greed didn't end in West Virginia. Union Carbide took their playbook global. In 1984, in Bhopal, India, their chemical plant leaked toxic gas, killing 3,187 people in a single night. The worst industrial disaster in history. Same company, same disregard for human life, same cover-ups. Hawk's Nest killed more American workers than many wars, yet it's a story almost no one knows. Union Carbide made sure of that. Mission accomplished. Charlie Jones didn't turn to stone by accident. He was turned to stone by a corporation that weighed his life against their profits and decided he wasn't worth saving. His lungs, and the lungs of thousands like him, were collateral damage in a game of corporate greed. In the Marilyn files, we keep these stories alive because corporate America wants you to forget. They want you to forget Charlie Jones, forget Gorley Bridge, forget the men who died choking on their own petrified lungs, because when we forget the past, companies like Union Carbide get to do it again, and again, and again. Next time on the Marilyn Files, we're pulling back the curtain on another corporate horror story. We'll show you how DuPont turned an entire West Virginia town into their personal science experiment, poisoning people for 60 years in a chemical cover-up that's still happening today. If you want to know what else corporate America is hiding, like and subscribe. The truth is buried in the files, and Marilyn never stops digging.